Hey Molloy fans, welcome to the Lions Lowdown here at Darcy Field in Rockville Centre. I'm here with the head coach of both the Molloy men's and women's soccer programs, Danny Longo, as both teams gear up for their opening weekend coming up today and tomorrow. Danny, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So first question for you, coming into this season, brand new turf here at Rockville Centre. How is the team been practicing on it and how do you like it?
It's a lot different because we're used to playing on almost concrete. So the turf, we appreciate the fact that we were able to update it, and it's made our game a lot different because we're able to play the feet a lot more. It used to be too fast, now it's slowed it down a little bit, and now we're used to it because we practice on it 2.5 weeks. So hopefully it works in our favor.
Now, women's soccer here, we're going to talk to them first since they have a game Friday night, 7 o'clock against Bentley, the second game of the Labor Day weekend tournament. What is it like for you to be hosting a tournament like this, where you have Bentley coming down, Merrimack coming down, and Dowling as well? Oh,
it's great. I mean, this is, I believe, my 8th year as the women's head coach, and we've played in the same tournament for 8 years. It used to be Dowling, Merrimack, ourselves, and St. Mike's up in Vermont. And Bentley took over probably about 3 years ago. So the three of us have been together for this long, and we've never hosted. It used to be in Dowling, where it was at St. Mike's, then it was at Dowling, then it was at Merrimack, and finally we host. So it's the first time I'm opening up at home with the women, and I just think it's an advantage. You know, I like going away. I like team camaraderie and all that stuff. But reality is, you want to be at home. That's why that's where you practice every day. The balls you use, etc. So hopefully it works to our advantage.
Now, coming into this season, last season was a good year in conference, we can say, just missing the playoffs by maybe a half a game here or there, but you return almost all of your scoring from last year. Danielle Valente is back, Alicia Mercurio, Christina Restivo also back there. A couple changes here or there, but what does it mean to have all that scoring power back to your team?
It means a lot. I mean, I don't think we scored all that much, so I mean, it's nice to have them back. I think Danny will score more. I think Alicia will score more. I just think as a group, we have a lot of kids back, and the kids that we brought in, I think really help the group. Both soccer-wise, both kid-wise, the group is a very good group. And I think because we're tight off the field, no issues, it turns to quality on the field when it comes down to games. So hopefully that works.
Now, on the back line, obviously Gianna Genosa back for your team. Annette Mims is back and healthy, ready to play this season. But behind them in the goal, no more Nicole Della Porta. And usually when a coach transitions from goalie to goalie, you go to a freshman. You've gone to a graduate student, Kelsey Dittmeyer, who was a lacrosse player and now soccer goalie. What has she been like, that kind of, not a senior leader per se, but an older leader on the back line to be protecting the net for you again?
Kelsey's a great kid and has worked her tail off. But actually, we're going to go with our center back, who was an honorable mention center back last year, and Gabby Batista will actually be our starting goalkeeper this year. And it's a big transition. In the offseason, we lost our freshman goalkeeper transferred, and our senior obviously graduated. So it's a little bit of a transition because we will lose Gabby off the back line, and we won't have an everyday goalkeeper in the back, but she's done a tremendous job. She's an athlete. She's willing to work, and she's willing to play it. So I think we're going to be fine because she talks a lot in the back. She's great with her feet, and I think it'll work out well for us.
You've done this before. Last couple seasons when you had Justin Cork on the men's side and Mario Galliano would take over and go for him on some occasions. Is there an advantage to having someone who plays the field come back and play in the net? Obviously, you go from not using their hands to being able to use their hands. Maybe the biggest transition there, but is there an advantage to it, do you think?
It is when it comes down to feet. I mean, when we had Mario in goal, we played the ball back like he was a regular field player, where when we had Jesse in goal, you're only playing it back for him to clear the ball. So the same thing's going to be here now for Gabby. With a goalkeeper, you don't typically play the ball back to them, number one, and number two, they'll stay inside their box. Gabby's going to be a lot more aggressive, almost like a sweeper keeper. She'll be our last defender. She'll come off and clear a lot of balls outside the 18 and just clear them and get back in to prevent her from having to go 1v1s.
What are you looking for out of your new freshmen that are coming in? Examples, Dominique Capolongo, Daria Castrogiovanni. What are you looking for them to do as they get onto the field for the first time, and how do you think they can help produce more offense or strengthen that back line for now Batista's back in goal?
We just want them to, they're going to be freshmen, they're going to make mistakes. We just want them to give us what we saw in them when we recruited them. So it's their work rate, it's their talent. Some of them are more talented than the other. It's their their speed, their strength, whatever it may be that we brought them in here for. We need them to do that well, and then obviously get better at everything else. But we have a couple of freshmen I think are going to help right away, and one being like Amanda Milazzo, came in, top dog from the get-go, and we expected a lot from her, and we've gotten everything and more. She could either play center back, she could play holding mid. I can throw her up top at times. She's very good in the air. She's very composed on the ball. Played for a great club team, and as freshmen go, I expect her to give us the most impact straight away.
Now, Bentley Friday night, Merrimack Sunday afternoon, with the men's game against Nyack sandwiched in the middle. As the coach of both programs, we know that over at NYIT they're doing the same thing now with Carlos Del City. He's coaching both programs now. As a coach of both programs, how does that shift in your mind from one day women's game to the next day the men's game, then back to the women's game? What does that shift like?
I mean, it's you wouldn't say it's necessarily easy, but at this point I've been doing it for 8 years, so it's just another day for me. Tomorrow morning we'll play tonight. Tomorrow morning we'll train at 8 a.m. with the women, and then Merrimack will train at 9, and Bentley will train at 10, and I'll be here to make sure everything's good, and then the boys will leave for noon for a 3 o'clock game at Nyack. You'll see today, I'm training with the men. It's the tail end of the practice, so we're doing this. But these guys are prepared, ready to go, and they know what they need to do tomorrow. So my focus at this point, that the men are pretty much over, is the women's game tonight. And when the women's game is over, I'll train with them in the morning. When that's over, it's all men. And when that game is over, we go back to the women. You just have to change your mindset.
Now let's talk about this men's team. A playoff team last year, the 4th seed in the conference. You look at the squad now, and no Hamza Ilamani graduates. That's a lot big scoring prowess for you to lose, but you're turning a lot of key quality guys up on that front line. Lester Franco is going to be huge for you guys, I would think, especially, and George Sinecore on the back, those 2 redshirt seniors. Talk about them coming back for that redshirt senior year and being part of that core of senior leadership that you want on this team.
Yeah, those 2 kids, they're staples. They're great. George, last year as a redshirt junior, I didn't expect him to start for us. He played a lot the year before, but I didn't expect him to start. By game 2, he won the job. And he did a great job all year, and there wasn't even a thought this year to start preseason. He was our starting left back. And then Lester Franco, a.k.a. Snoop, has been a staple from day one. And I think he's only gotten better every year since he's been here. I brought in from Brentwood, he was their 10, 11, 12 guy. And he's slowly but surely become one of our better players throughout the last, 3 years, and this being his 4th year. As a player. I guess his first year he sat out, so his last 5 years. And I expect nothing, but hard work and leadership out of Snoop for us.
Now, on the men's side, you have, I don't want to call them this, but they certainly are the killer P's, Basilico and Palomini, looking for them to kind of continue that offensive stronghold. But now you've got transfers coming in. Orlando Castaneda is on this team now, and even in practice you see a little bit of difference here with him and Kyle Potch as well. So what is it about that environment and that kind of mindset that you have these players, and you also got these transfers coming back from D1 schools from my own in Hofstra who are now playing D2, and can kind of help out in a way for a D2 squad that's looking to take that next step?
Yeah, there's no question about it. Last year we had a great team. You mentioned Hamza Lamani, and we're going to miss him a lot. We're going to miss Joey Pinto. Dane Levy, who was a staple for 4 years. Jesse Cork in goal. No question those guys are all missed, but this team is a completely different team. Last year, we had some talent. Those guys were all talented, but we were hard working. We caused other teams havoc just by working hard. And then when it really came down to it, it was tough. Teams were better than us, and unfortunately, we didn't get the result. Even when it comes down to New York Tech playing in the semifinal, they were a better team than us. No matter how hard we worked, they were the better team. Now with the influx of some of these transfers, and unfortunately right now Orlando's a little bit hurt, so isn't going to be able to help early on. But Kyle Potch, Orlando was a top 100 kid coming out in the country when he came out quite a few years back. Kyle Potch was the National County Player of the Year, all Long Island, all state when he came in. And then we have 2 more. Mo White, who transferred in from Caldwell, hasn't played there in a while. We're actually going to play them on Tuesday, so that'll be fun for him, who I expect to tear this league up. And then and another one by the name of Josh Zapata, who transferred over from Suffolk Community, first team All-American, won the national championship last year at Junior College Division III, and I expect him to tear it up too. We are much different, and I think as a group, much better than we've been potentially ever.
Now, you mentioned Justin Cork gone. You have 2 different goalies that are on your roster right now. Tell me a little bit about them Who has the edge right now going into tomorrow's game Saturday against Nyack, and what do you see on both of them that you like?
Yeah, well, we brought in Anthony as a backup, and he knew that from the get-go, but gave him the opportunity to say, if you beat out whoever we bring in, or Stephen Toppetto, who was our backup last year, you'll get the job. And then we had Stephen Toppetto, who was the backup last year to the goalkeeper of the year, and he knew that coming in as well, but also knew that he has opportunity as a sophomore, telling him that we're probably going to recruit and you got other kids coming in, but it's your job to lose. And he has taken it. Day one was a little shaky. I had a conversation with him, and he's been tremendous ever since day one. So he's our starting keeper. I don't foresee him ever coming out. And he's been solid across the board throughout preseason. We had some tough competition in the preseason, and he's did a great job. So I'm assuming he's going to do that moving forward.
Danny, last question here as we wrap up. I'm going to give you a bit of an easier one. How important is it this weekend to get off on the right foot? A win, obviously huge. A draw, if it's a good draw, is obviously very important for you guys as well. But how important is it for both of your squads to get off on the right foot this weekend, going into what you know is going to be a dogfight in this conference?
It's 100% what needs to happen is we need to get off to a good start. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, when you start off on the road every year with the women, we struggle. Typically with the men, we start off every year on the road because I'm away with the women. So we'll play a Thursday night game on the road, and then I'm away for the weekend and we come back. This year is the best setup we've ever had, where I'm home, I'm able to coach both teams, be here the whole time. And, it's imperative that we start off straight away. It is a little different when you're playing the men's game and the women's game, because in the men's game, every game counts the same, because there's no automatic bids. Every game you need to win, because ultimately, if you've ever been to the NCAA tournament, that's where you want to be back. I have not been there with Molloy since my second year, which is in 2008. But every year, that's what we do. We recruit kids to make the NCAA tournament. Have we gotten there? No, we fell short for the last 6 years, 8 years, whatever it may be. But this is the year that I anticipate us making a lot of noise regionally and nationally. I'm not scared to say it online. I believe that we are who we are, and teams are going to have to play different against us, similar to the way that we've always had to play different against other teams. So it's imperative that the men start straight away. The women, obviously the same, but the way the women game works is you have an automatic bid. Our major thing is to get everybody healthy and confident by the time we start our first conference game against Queens. Right now, we're a little beat up, I'm not going to lie. I believe that we'll do well this weekend, but regardless, we need to do well against Queens and so on in the league, and that's where we'll be focused once we get there.
So come out this Friday night and Sunday afternoon as Molloy Women's Soccer hosts the Molloy Labor Day Weekend Tournament. This Friday, Bentley 7 o'clock. This Sunday, Merrimack 2 p.m. The men's team plays up at Nyack on Saturday. They'll return home on September the 16th for a Wednesday night game against Dominican College. Head coach Danny Longo of both programs. Best of luck to you this season. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.